Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Orbital Takes. Today is June 1st. We got some massive space news to address here. Boeing Starliner has officially completed the OFT-2 mission. Pat, is it everything you wished and dreamed for or what?
Oh my gosh. It's good to finally see that team, that vehicle do what they set out to intend to do, right? And that's to have a second capsule for American astronauts to be able to reach orbit. Yeah, it was great. Seemed to have gone pretty well all around, all things considering. So yeah, what'd you think about that, Spo?
I'll tell you what, we got a lot to unpack here. So right now, it is kind of crazy to think that the Soyuz and the Crew Dragon now have a cousin, right? They got a cousin Starliner in the mix there. We finally have another capsule to get to the International Space Station. Some of the highlights that I thought really stuck out. Let's talk about the launch first, right? First off, beautiful launch out of Cape Canaveral, right? I think gosh. It was what they take, an L+3 rocket. Shout out Tori Bruno.
Yes, yeah, that's what ULA launched them on L+3. Yep.
Yeah, beautiful launch out of there. And on the launch out, when they had the separation, incredible, like such a violent eruption in the back there. That was really cool. I thought that was a big moment. You know who really stole the show? Rosie the Rocketeer, bro. Rosie the Rocketeer. Do you want to tell people a little bit who Rosie is?
Yeah, so Rosie the Riveter goes back to World War II, right? The we can do this, and she's looks like a badass, and she's got the guns showing. We'll throw a clip of it up here. That's Rosie the Riveter. So this is the Rosie the Rocketeer, and it was essentially a mannequin of sorts to be able to test loads, G forces and other things of that nature on the human body. Yeah, it was the second time they've done something like that. But yeah, just super cool to get the public excited. They also had another zero G indicator, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. Wait, so that was for the Kerbal Space Program, right? I don't play that game, but have you played that before?
So I've never played Kerbal. I'm not smart enough to be able to do all the physics and the
serious shit
and the maths. Yeah. But I have done a spaceflight simulator, which is, I guess, a close cousin. But yeah, it's a Kerbal Space Program. Spell, I think you and I need to get into that. I think you and I need to check that out because it's right up our alley. And what if we crash shit? Who cares?
Yeah, no. And I heard so people were obsessed with that when the zero G indicator started going up there. But yeah, Rosie was just, I don't know. I feel like she kind of stole the show. And I thought it was an interesting question to ask you. Do you think when it's all said and done that Rosie might have more space flight time than Jeff Bezos?
Oh, nice one. I like it. I like it.
I mean, what are your thoughts? Like, is that talking shit? I mean, do you think that Rosie the Rocketeer might do more for the space flight industry than Jeff Bezos will?
I don't know if she'll do more. She may inspire more people. Because Bezos likes to put his foot in his mouth sometimes, or have super awkward moments. I'm thinking of the William Shatner where he's having this existential crisis and Bezos is like, no, like let's spray with champagne instead.
That was hilarious.
Yeah, that was hilarious. So yeah, I think from an inspirational standpoint, maybe Rosie's got it there. But I know Bezos he really wants to go to space and develop that infrastructure, the low Earth orbit. So I bet he gets up there.
Yeah, but you got to think about it this way, Pat. So Bezos is 58. Rosie is timeless, right? I mean, like when it's all said and done, Rosie honestly might have more flight time in space, which is crazy to think about.
Yeah, you got a point there.
Yeah, and some of the other big moments, the hatch opening was wild. So the astronauts on the ISS spent some time in the capsule of Starliner, like testing some laptops, some shit like that. So that was pretty cool. And just the view of Starliner from outside the ISS and seeing it there parked with everything else, it was such a surreal moment. I mean, we waited so long for this, right? I mean, 2014, the commercial crew program was, stood up, and then it took a long time for them to test OFT-1. They had problems with that, and we waited 2.5 years for this flight, right?
Yeah, when you think back, so commercial crew started, the program started in 2014.
Yeah,
it was supposed to be, I think the deadline ish was 2017.
Yeah,
2018, that time frame. So here we are, 5 years past that 2017 time frame. SpaceX has clearly got their stuff figured out. But it's just a reminder that space is hard, and this is why every country isn't just has some kind of solution like this.
Yeah, and there was some drama. Okay, so the flight wasn't completely drama free. One of the biggest, I guess, not issues, they don't want to call it an issue, but when they were going to dock with the ISS, they stopped for like a good like 2 hours, right? Like they were just kind of like rendezvousing up there. We weren't sure what was going on, and we actually found out that they had some thruster issues, which didn't like cancel the mission. They finally figured it out. Like I think they have 10 or 12 thrusters, so there wasn't really a problem if like 2 of them were fucked up. But it was really interesting to see that, well, they got it up there and there were still issues, and that just kind of like, I don't know. Now I think of it now, like, what are they hiding from us, right? Because in the press conference, if you watch the post landing press conference, they pretty much are saying like they're ready for humans, but they're not giving a confirmed date on when that's going to happen. And that leads me to believe that they still have some questions that need to be answered. Thank God Starliner got home safe. Like the landing itself was awesome, but still, I am not 100% sure that next flight will have humans on it. I personally don't feel comfortable saying that yet. Do you?
You know, I do. I think that it will have people on it. I think this was a, you know, OFT, orbital flight test, you know, and that's what this is for, is to iron out some of those kinks, right? So, you know, they build in so many redundancies and systems that you're exactly right. Even if a couple thrusters did go down, and it wasn't that big of a deal. I think Boeing is so amped and ready to get people onto this thing. I don't foresee them doing another flight test. You know, which, you know, for a human rated craft is, you know, when you say it out loud, you're like, oh man, I don't know if I'd want to be one of the first 3 people on there. But, you know, otherwise, I think Boeing has a strong enough track record. Obviously, they are the prime contractor for the ISS. They've been in the aerospace industry for, you know, 60 years since the beginning. So I have full confidence in Boeing, and really we just need this second capability. So, you know, there's a risk reward type thing. You know, there's some precautions you can take, but yeah, I personally think that it will have people on it the next one.
No, that's a good take, Pat. And if you think back, between demo 1 and demo 2, they had a ton of issues, right? And like they figured them out, and then you got people up there. I mean, I'll tell you what, I wouldn't personally want to be one of the astronauts that's chosen to ride in Starliner. We've said this before, like I'm just not trusting it yet. But I mean, you're right. I mean, at some point we do have to put humans up there.
Yeah, and if you remember, okay, so we're gonna have to double check the timeline on this, but so there was demo 1, and then between demo 1 and demo 2, there was an in-flight abort test, which SpaceX conducted, which was super cool, but the Falcon 9 booster ended up exploding, which was not planned, and so they had to then go back and say, okay, like what's going on here? And then they also had the Draco thruster issue, which was the abort system. So, you know, these capsules, you know, have these issues sometimes. Thank God no one's been killed or anything, but I think that there's just way too many smart engineers working on this for them not to be people on the next one.
Wait, before I forget, the red, white, and blue parachutes that they dropped down with were
so
sick.
badass.
So badass. I mean, normally some of these landings we see at night, and you know, you don't really get to see what color the chutes are. I mean, SpaceX has just plain white chutes, right?
That's a good question.
I think the Crew Dragon just has white chutes, but these were red, white, and blue. And I also, Pat, I haven't been that massive of a Starliner fan, right? Like I got into the space industry, like for real, like 2 years ago, and I didn't even see OFT-1. I had no idea they landed in Nevada desert with these big ass bags that pop out underneath it, like making, this makes, what's it called? This made the Blue Origin capsules like look like it was child's play compared to what, you know, the bags that came out of the bottom of that.
Yeah. Which, you know, it's 2 very different flight paths and 2 different velocities. You know, you're coming from, you know, even though the ISS is, you know, still low Earth orbit, it's still way higher than the Blue Origin capsules are going. So yeah, it's crazy when you see that. I'd much rather have that than the Boeing, or I'm sorry, than the Soyuz landing, right? In the middle of the Kazakh desert.
And they said that's a hard landing.
Yeah, it's like a car crash.
Bang. Yeah, that's what they said. So what would you name the Starliner capsule? It doesn't have a name right now. Like, what would you personally name it at this point?
Oh man. Okay. All right. Hang on. Let me think. Okay. We already have endurance. We already have freedom.
I think like naming it like Cousin something would be funny, right? Like, you know, cousin Star, Cousin Vinny, Cousin Star. I don't know, something about being a cousin, because I mean, he does seem like the cousin that's like kind of like odd out there. You know what I mean? Like he's not part of the gang yet. Like he hasn't really proved himself, or I don't know.
Yeah. Oh man. Okay, I'm gonna have to think about this one. Excuse me. I'm gonna have to think about this one.
You know, think about that, and we'll come back to the overtake. So hey, yeah, guys, congrats to Boeing. This is a big deal. I did see there being some talks of what's going to happen after ULA is done with the Atlas V rocket, don't they only have like a certain amount of rockets left? And then with this specific Atlas V, and then they're going to have to find a new way to get to Starliner into orbit.
Yeah. So yes, they have a certain number of Atlases contracted, and I think a lot of them are being eaten up by Amazon to get the Kuiper.
Interesting.
But I think that there's enough already sold to Boeing for some of these or already set aside for Boeing to these for these Starliner missions. But with the new Vulcan rocket that ULA is bringing out, I think there's going to be a variant that can obviously take this up there too.
Vulcan looks sick, by the way.
Yeah,
Vulcan,
awesome.
I'm excited for that one. Yeah, guys, congratulations to Boeing. Look, we've talked so much shit on Boeing in this podcast. It's finally time to celebrate. And even if you watch like the post-landing presser, like everybody's excited about this. Yeah, of course, shit happened up there and they're gonna fix it. And humans are gonna ride this thing. And we now officially have 2 United States spaceships that are going to be taking humans to the International Space Station. The biggest problem I think that they might have in the future is just traffic on the International Space Station. Like they literally might not have enough ports. Simple.
That's already been an issue.
Yeah.
They have to move these capsules around to the different ports already.
Yeah.
Yeah, when it was crazy when there was 2 crew dragons and a cargo dragon up there at the same time.
Yeah.
There's multiple different crafts up there, and it's a good problem to have, obviously.
It's a great problem to have. And one day we'll be riding it. It's going to be exciting. So this is going to be some interesting deep space news that was hot in the news last Wednesday. The NASA Voyager 1 is sending back mysterious data from beyond our solar system, right? So we launched this thing about 45 years ago out of our solar system. And now the data that we're getting back is basically puzzling our engineers. Like it's not lining up with where it should be. And it's like, it has all this mysterious data. Do you think that this is just kind of a fluke within, like just like one out of a 45-year period? Or do you think that this is actually like something going on?
I think it's something going on. I think we don't understand the interstellar medium like maybe we thought we did, which is fine. That's why we send craft out there. And I think that obviously the Voyagers weren't meant to be probing interstellar space, and no one imagined they would last this long, but there's no way to go test that stuff, right? Except for going there. There's countless examples of this in planetary science where let's take Pluto, for example. We thought Pluto was a dead ice world, and when we flew by, we're like, oh my gosh, there's actual possibly tectonics going on. There's possibly an ocean under there. There's surfaces which are way, only, hundreds of thousands of years as opposed to, billions of years. So we're just continuing to find new answers to these questions. Dark energy, dark matter could play into this as well, which the scientists still don't know what that stuff is. So.
Yeah, that's dark matter scares the shit out of me. It's basically like it's Voyager's confused about its location in space, and I mean, I highly doubt it's some like extraterrestrial intelligence that's like moving it around. It's simply just this thing is the furthest man-made object in space. Of course, the data is going to be all fucked up. I mean, eventually, I don't think they even expected it to last this long at 45 years, right?
Definitely not. Definitely not. They anticipated the physical structure itself is going to last for billions of years, and that's why they put the golden record on all this stuff. But the fact that it's still transmitting, 45, however many years later is just incredible. So when you think about the outer planets like Uranus and Neptune, we don't know anything about them either. So for us to say, oh, we know exactly what's going to be going on in the interstellar medium, and this is exactly how it's going to behave, and then we're surprised when it doesn't. I think it's just science. It's science being conducted on the fly.
I think it is silly that we named them Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 because they confuse the shit out of me. They really do. Like, I don't understand why we couldn't have just named them different names, because like telling the difference between, like, they're very similar, aren't the same thing twice, but one of them went closer to one of the planets than the other one, right?
Yeah, so they had both went on similar trajectories to the there was an alignment of the outer planets back in the 70s where you could use gravity assist to get from one to the other, and where it was normally take decades to do that, they were able to cut so many years off that because of these gravity assists. And then when they go to the Jupiter, they say, oh my god, look at Titan, look what's going on there. Okay, if we want to go see that, so let's angle the spacecraft and go see that. Well, when we do that, it's going to take us out of the plane of the ecliptic, which is where all of the planets are on. So it's going to go up, and the plane of the ecliptic is like this. So that's what happened, but it was worth it because we discovered that Titan in Europa and Enceladus and like all not Enceladus, that's in Saturn, but Titan in Europa, potentially, treasure troves of scientific data. So it was worth it, kind of sacrificing one, and that's why NASA made two of them in case something happened to one of them. So
genius. I just wish they changed the name. And what's that documentary? There's a great documentary out there that you guys can watch. It's called I think The Furthest Object in Space, and it is a 12 out of 10 documentary, like incredible.
It's awesome. Yes. The furthest. Yeah. What is it?
It's something like that. Type it in on Google. You guys will find that. But
it's about the Voyager mission. Yeah. It's amazing.
One of the coolest facts that we could share about this is that it takes light 20 hours and 33 minutes to get to Voyager's current interstellar location. That is bananas.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
It's so cool that they're able to still precisely point something in that direction too,
Yeah, and receive it back. And I think on NASA's website you can even see real-time data coming back, right? I mean, I obviously not now, because the data's all fucked up, but still, you know what I mean?
Yeah. They have like a quote unquote spacecraft view too, and the sun just looks like another star in the sky at that point because it's so far away.
All right, Pat, let's get into some unfortunate news here. Our InSight lander on Mars is about to take its final selfie, or has it taken its final selfie yet?
It has taken its final selfie. So this was a lander that landed, 2.5 years ago, roughly. And it was going to measure the internal temperature of Mars and listen for Marsquakes and to learn about the how Marsquakes permeate through the Martian crust, because Mars doesn't have plate tectonics like Earth does. So we're trying to learn about that, right? So it doesn't rove around; it just sits there. And so it has solar panels to be able to charge itself. And as we know, Mars is a dusty place and has no real way of cleaning its solar panels off, which I guess I don't understand, like why we haven't just why NASA hasn't just like put like a brush on there or something, like
it's as simple as that.
Put a brush on the end of the robotic arm with all this other stuff going on there. But so unfortunately it's, power levels are dwindling as the Martian winter approaches, and it becomes dustier and dustier and colder. So there's a pretty cool thing that I posted on Spaceflight Hub where it took a selfie on the first couple of days it was there, and then now it's covered. So it has taken its final selfie there. It's going to be in a quote unquote, they're going to put the arm in a quote unquote retirement pose for any future photos it may be able to send back. But that's what it'll look like. So Spo, what would be your retirement pose if you had to choose one final pose?
So if I'm on there and I had to take a final pose, the first thing I think about is like some iconic photos of, like, I don't know, my favorite final pose is, I hate to say it, but Tupac in the car right before he got shot, just like looking straight into the camera, something like that. Maybe like, I don't know. I also love that song, If We're Gonna Die, or If I'm Gonna Die Right Away. I like the song My Way by Frank Sinatra. Maybe start playing that shit up there. But what about you? Like, what would your final pose be if you were like, this is Highlander?
I might do like a Johnny Drama, like Victory or something like that.
Something along those lines. It's interesting. I read that it takes like multiple or several times in order just to move one robotic arm, like so many commands just to take this one selfie. It's really like, it's a selfie, but it's a bigger deal than just a selfie.
Oh yeah, it's a mosaic. It's a mosaic of several images stitched together, and they're so good at processing them you can't tell. It looks like a selfie. So selfie is maybe the wrong word, but that's just what everyone understands. But yeah, you're right. It's way more difficult than just like pointing the camera back at yourself and hitting clicks. So that's why they're not able to do that anymore because of the power levels.
So how much did this mission cost? InSight lander cost?
Was this this was not a flagship. This was a Discovery class mission, like 250 million or something like that.
Yeah. It's upwards. It's like $500 to $600 million. And get this, the only reason that it's taking its final selfie is because of dust, right? Like all that money, all that distance traveled. It's not like it's dead. It's dusty.
Yeah. And when you think about the Spirit and Opportunity rovers, they were similar solar panel technology, right? Well, the reason they would lasted years and years is because they would have dust devils come by every once in a while and clean them off. And
Yeah.
InSight just hasn't been lucky.
Yeah.
So I think they have a contingency plan to try to re-communicate in the summertime, just in case during the wintertime a dust devil comes along and cleans it off. But pour one out for InSight.
Pour one out for InSight, and it's not even like Perseverance can get anywhere near InSight, right?
Oh no, no. That's
on the other side of the planet. I mean, one day, ultimately, we can go there, like me or you, and like literally brush it off, like eventually, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
be like Mark Watney in The Martian.
All right. Well, there you have it for this week's Orbital Takes. Once again, thank you guys so much for your support. Thank you for listening. If you followed the Twitter or the TikTok, thank you guys so much. Pat, you got anything?
Yeah, follow us on Instagram as well at Orbital Takes there. And thanks everybody. We'll see you next week.
See you next week, guys. Love you.